flowers. I mean, it just...
It really, and the more you learn about it, when I talk to people about it, some people have grown food long enough that they know exactly what you just said. Other people haven't seen these things go from seed to maturity, and they don't have a clue how they're going to look. But
I want to, something else too. Not just that, but you can put your herbs intertwined in your garden, because some herbs actually help enhance the food, and vice versa.
Absolutely. And
there you got a variety of color if that's what you're looking for is pretty.
Oh, yeah. And you can even do for people who live in apartments or small condos and they don't have much space. You can either get involved with a community garden. You can always, almost anywhere, you can get a patio plants, and you could grow tomatoes, you can grow lettuce, you can grow all kinds of things. Granted, it won't see you through the summer, but it'll help, and it could also be used to help make friends with the neighbors.
There's another thing too. If you, it's one thing to grow food, but not everybody. We've gotten so far away from it in this culture today. Not everybody knows how to really cook food from scratch with real food, and most women today don't even know how to make a loaf of bread. So if you are a baker and you know how to make homemade bread, you make homemade pasta, etc., why not get the ladies together in your neighborhood or your community and have a little class on how to make a loaf of bread, how to make homemade pasta, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of
churches
will even allow you to use their kitchen and have a women's day.
Well, and if we could ever get back control of our local schools, which we really have to do because they're hideous, but if we could get back control, some of us ladies I remember in high school, and that probably shows my age, we had home ec, and they actually taught me
too,
how to cook. I mean, it was actually great. How many people I've been told, and I haven't run into these people, I've been told that there are a huge number of young people who buy the processed foods because they don't have a clue how to cook from scratch.
Oh, yep.
Let me tell you, my daughter's 23 years old, and this last year at Easter, 2 days before Easter, she called home from her girlfriend's house, and she said to me, "Mom, how do you boil eggs?"
Oh, wow.
And when I said, take those eggs, put them in a pan, cover them with water, turn it on high, bring it to a boil, turn it off, put the lid on, leave it sit there for 15 minutes. I assume you're going to color the eggs. They'll be perfect with no cracks in them. And she said, damn, I knew I did something wrong. I said, please explain. She said, well, I didn't know you were supposed to put the eggs in first. But that is an indication, people.
It is an indication, and people have been telling me this, and I've kind of started asking, and it is true. The center of the store, in fact, one store we have that's just new, I have been watching them, and now you guys can do your own research. Doing research, incidentally, on your community it's fun. It is fun to get there and quit watching the TV about what's happening in the District of Crooks, and go around your community and learn what's there. That is wonderful research. But what I noticed in the big stores, and you people can tell me what you've noticed, the shelf space they use for the ingredients is getting smaller. The shelf space they're using for the pre-processed foods is getting larger.
Yep.
See, I knew that, and I said, look what they're doing, because they make more money off of us buying processed, prepackaged, boxed foods. They are increasing the shelf space, giving us less choices on the ingredients, because they really don't make as much money, correct, when we buy the ingredients and cook it ourselves.
Yep.
Well, not only that, but when they have a large, now I've noticed that here locally, the local super Walmart, used to have an enormous produce area. Now, good produce, unbelievably so, is hard to get here where I'm at in the South, but it was there in plenty year-round. And I have noticed over the last year or so that space in that store is getting smaller and smaller, and that even though they still have pretty much the same selection, the amount of that selection that is there to choose from is smaller and smaller. And I find that the more pre-boxed processed foods are consumed and shopped for, the less fresh food is shopped for, and the more waste that store is going to have. Because fresh vegetables in the store, they're going to rot just as fast as they will on your counter if you don't use them.
Yeah. And that I mean, this is going on everywhere, but this kind of information that you just shared with me, is great. I mean, I'm here in Central Ohio, but think of how valuable it would be if people had their county website, their little place, and then the sharing of the information could be like an ongoing thing as we get focused on what's happening right here in our backyard, and get our focus off of, and I don't know, Rick may not appreciate this, but trying to get our focus off of Washington. Your news media here in Central Ohio, all the channels run national and international stories. Even our PBS, our public broadcasting news, now calls itself the global news. This thing is insidious. It is insidious. They use the word global. They're doing a mind job on the whole population.
Right.
In fact, my husband has gone to a community center, and he was talking to these people about relocalization, and here's what they told him, and you guys probably know the same thing. Here's what they said: well, it sounds good, but there really is no alternative. That's mind control, and it's used, the public is already buying it, that there is no alternative. And it isn't.
They want you to believe you're helpless.
They want globalization. They want me to buy apples that were grown in Washington State, sent to be waxed in some southern country, and then shipped back, right?
Yeah, or frozen California vegetables shipped in from China.
Exactly. And they want us to think that this is normal. They want us to think that this is good. And you're like, it's just astounding what a job they've done on the general population when it comes to this globalization. People really do believe that there is no alternative. That is not true.
When I first started waking up myself and becoming very aware of that there was something insidiously wrong going on, and I wasn't quite sure what it all was, but I really started to research things, and I really started to pay attention, and I started some political threads in my company's forum, and back then people would say, well, that's all well and good, but I'm a globalist. And I thought, what the hell is that? What is a globalist?
Yeah.
What does that mean? And I would say that. What does that mean? And I never did get a clear explanation as to what it meant to be a globalist.
Well, right here, I live not far from a mall. 20 years ago, we moved here, and this mall had all local stores. Okay, they were great. They were local. They were little mini local chains. Some of them had 4 stores around town. They were great stores. We had a grocery chain called Golden Bear. They had like 8 stores around town, and they had an ice cream parlor that had been there forever. They had a video store that I knew all the people. What they did here locally, and we all loved it. We really liked it. It was just a treat to go over there see our friends shop. It was great. Well, what they did is they sent in a company. They hired a company to manage that mall. And they managed that mall right out of business. They kept increasing the rate and decreasing the services until the mall went under. Mm-hmm. Then the mall sold. Some new guy came in, and guess what? There isn't one local store in the entire mall. This was not an accident, folks.
No, not by a long shot.
Not by a long shot. And we watched this, me and my friends and I, we watched this, and we would lament, like, oh, geez, we're just sorry to see that go. Oh, I really liked it. Cute little restaurant. Oh, what happened to them?
Dime stores.
We couldn't figure out why. And we would meet, and we'd say, gee, I don't like the way it is, and what happened? And for years we'd talk about how we hated it, and we could not figure it out. Kind of like you. We couldn't figure out why they were all going under and why everything was changing. And only when I listened to Catherine Austin Fitts, and she does a great thing called The Looting of America. Believe it or not, that was last year when I heard her talk about how this all was done with interest rates and finance availability. I just went, oh my gosh, that we scratched our heads for all those years, and we couldn't figure out what happened. And then, of course, she explained why this was a plan. You know?
It started centuries ago.
Well, they made money. They made easy money available to the developers to overdevelop, overbuild. We had more malls than anybody would ever want, and we got it because credit was so easy for them, right?
By design.
Well, not only that, before I left Michigan, the last 5 years I was there, I saw probably 5 or 6 brand new strip malls built.
Yep.
In various areas around the Downriver City area there.
Yep.
And not a one of them ever leased out. Not a business ever moved in. Just built these strip malls and left vacant and empty. And then I realized they were just built for tax write-offs in the first place.
Yeah, and they knew
they would.
And they funded them. They made the money easy.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys got loans for nothing. I mean, I knew builders who were building all of these fancy suburban places, and I kept saying, at the time I was in real estate, I don't think you guys have a market for all these houses, you know. How are you doing this? And later I found out they were given such fabulous rates.
Yep.
And such amazing terms. So they created this building bubble. It had nothing to do, at least where I live,
like all the rest of the bubbles,
with the market, you know, because there were empty things sitting around. I live a block away from an Agenda 21 project. Okay, they're funding high-rise compact dwellings. Okay, so they built.
That's
this
what
thing.
they intend to do: pack them and stack them.
That's what they intend to do. Yeah. So they built this thing, and this is why Democrats Against United Nations Agenda 21 is a great website to go to, because she's telling people about this.
Wow, the left is finally waking up too.
Exactly. And these buildings that they put up, folks, they're empty. So what does that tell you? They gave them the money to build these things for this, quote, agenda. At the same bleeping time, pardon my French, the economy's tanking. So here we are. I drive by these big, well, they're luxury condos, but they're empty. You're like, what you took down? They took down duplexes where people could have had gardens. They don't want that. They trashed them, and they put up these high rises, and they're empty. And you're like, somebody's losing money here, right? Somebody has to be losing money.
Yeah. Exactly.
But this was by design.
Anita?
Yes, sorry.
We've got callers in the queue. Some are for Drake. And Anna, you were in the queue and you dropped and I know that we would love to hear from you. If you'd please call back in, that would be great. Anna's got some really, really helpful